Welcome to 10-minute chess openings. Today we're going to talk about the grünfeld defense. We reach this opening from d4, knight f6, c4, knight g6, and then knight c3. Knight f3 is also possible. We will reach this through transposition. If they play this, just play knight to the bishop g7, and if you keep denying you just have to play the king's Indian defense. But when they play knight c3, you can improve from the king's Indian defense and immediately strike in the center by playing d5. Now the grünfeld defense is on the board. Through here, there's a lot of options they can develop normally, like one of these moves, or they can take your pawn you just offered and then push your knight away, to which you take and you will strike in the center. This is the classic grünfeld defense setup, where you give them the center and you attack it from all sides. Here they can develop normally to c4. We're going to play knight f3. Knight f3 is quite common, but bishop c4 is even more common. But they sometimes transpose, but we'll look at bishop c4 since it's the most common move. Either way, for both moves we'll play bishop g7. They'll develop their knight, we'll just castle. Usually they will castle. And here with the knight in this position, after knight c6 you will have some trouble developing your bishop, because they can kick it away, or they have played h3. But that's one of your only problems. There's tremendous pressure on the center. They'll develop something like this. You can trade in the center. Then a lot of people play bishop to g4, f3, and then they go back. This is very common and used to be considered the best continuation. But online, below grandmaster level, it's much more practical to play knight a5, attacking the bishop, after which they will move it away. You can defend your knight with b6, develop your pieces, put your rooks on the open files, and yeah, you have a relatively simple game, kind of drawish, but it's equal. But this is not one of the most exciting lines, and not something you will face most of the time, because most people don't know the main line. So we'll go back to what you will face most of the time, and where you can get a nice advantage. So after knight c3 and d5, we'll look at when they don't take. And because on the side here, this is all people, all the grandmasters and people that know what they're doing. And since this is not really the most common move, most people will try not to go into your position and play either bishop f3 or knight f3. Either way, basically always you go bishop g7, after which they can go e3 or knight f3. Let's say they go knight f3 first. You can just simply castle. c6 is also possible, but it's more of a ugly Slav defense. So you can consider playing c5 there first, but it's easier to just get king of the center and stop all kinds of shenanigans. They'll finish development with knight f3, and then you can play again the common grünfeld move c5, challenging their center. And here you reach position which you will face quite often, where you can get a good advantage. Either they go c takes on d5, you can take back with the knight, and you just have a simply improved version from the main line, because Here they don't have e4, and you just have your queen dominating the center, and your position is actually just better. And well, as you can see on the side here, black scores very well. The most common move here is d takes c5, and here you can get a great position by not trading the pawn, but instead playing knight e4, opening up your bishop and exploding the center. Here the best move is to just simply defend the knight, but almost nobody will play that on the high levels. Most people will take the knight on e4, which you can then take back. They'll trade the queen because and your position is looking beautiful. You're attacking the knight. They can't really go here because they'll just all they can, but you push away with e5 and they'll drop a piece. They can go to h4, but it's very ugly. They'll drop a pawn and the position is horrible. Most commonly they'll just retreat to d2. You can take their pawn, after which they either go rook d1 or rook b1. So they attack the bishop. You just pin their knight, and well, you have a beautiful position with almost no issues. And if they defend their knight immediately, you play the same thing, which then transposes because the knight's attacked twice. And here, well, you can just develop your bishop, develop your knight, and yeah. Here your position is just much better, easy to play. You'll still attack these pawns through any moves, and you can pick these pawns up. They're very weak, they're isolated, and you have a very good position. Yeah, this is the most what you will face most commonly. Then we have some strange options they have. They can take your pawn and then just ignore whatever you're doing and play e3, for example. And if they don't attack your knight, you just calmly develop like usual. Go for bishop g7, castle, c5, knight c6, and that's basically you try to do this every game. They can do a bunch of weird stuff. They can put their queen here, which is the Russian variation. Basically, if they threaten to take your d pawn and you can't take back with the knight, that is when you trade. This is very uncommon, but still you can calmly get to your bishop, get your king out of the center, and just keep playing. You have way less issues than with King's Indian. Position is not as cramped, and you still get to attack with your knights and your pawns. You still get to attack his center. So yeah, that is the Grünfeld defense. I hope you have fun playing this opening, and if you have any questions about the opening, feel free to ask them in the comments.